All right, welcome back to lesson 3 of our 7th grade math with Mr. Biza. All right, so we're going to go ahead and look at our Nearpod. So you should be linked up with the Nearpod and following along with this lesson. So I'm going to go, this is the teacher view. So things are a little bit different, just a reminder. On our first slide, remember when we are in the classroom live together, your expectations are that your mic is muted, your cameras are on. If you have a question, type it in the chat so you don't disturb me or your classmates so that everyone is learning together. And then the last one is to participate and have fun because when we're participating and having fun, we are learning and it makes the experience so much better. All right. So, those are our norms every day for class. On my next slide is an open-ended question. So, reflecting back on our mood meter. So, what color of the mood meter are you? What happened to make you feel this way? So, I go ahead and click on this picture up here. I'm looking at the 4 different colors that represent my different feelings. I'm going to go ahead and pick one of those to be the color that represents how I'm feeling today. So, right now, I'm feeling really energized and lively. So, I'm in the yellow zone. So, my mood today is I'm in the yellow because I'm so excited and I just can't hide it. All right, so then you would push the blue submit button. That would be down here, but I'm in teacher mode, so I can't submit anything. All right, so now let's go to the next slide. This is your attendance sheet to let me know that you completed the work. It's also going to be help us keep track of who is doing the work to keep attendance. So you put your first name, last name, student ID, your class period, and you are doing this makeup after school or before school. Okay, so you missed the lesson, then you can do it again on your own. All right, and then you click submit, and then we go to the next slide. Next slide. So this is where our lessons start. We record those lessons to make sure people are on track, learn about how teachers are teaching, and we talk about those amongst ourselves. Keep it to myself so that you guys know that we're getting better just for you. All right, so let's go ahead and look at our lesson now. This is the same thing that we've been working on. This is our same unit, operations with the rational numbers. This is our 3rd lesson of the year. Materials that you guys need is you're going to need a composite notebook where we've been keeping our notes, the writing utensils to write those notes, your Chromebook so you can watch this wonderful Nearpod, and we don't need any calculators or Inspire calculators. We are able to do these with our heads, all right? So let's go ahead and click on the next slide now. This is your warm-up. So this is a match and pair. So we're going to have our equation, the first half of our equation. Okay, so that number sentence right here is equal to, and then you have to pick the correct answer. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different halves of the equation. So you have to find the answer that matches to make the equations true. All right. So go ahead and put pause on this video and take some time to answer those. All right. So let's go to the next slide in 3, 2, 1. All right, so I'm going to count down every time. I'm going to switch to the next slide so you have time to put pause and work on your lessons. Today's learning objective is we're going to be able to multiply integers fluently. We'll be able to divide integers fluently, and we're following this teaks down here: add, subtract, multiply, and divide rational numbers fluently. All right. So we did adding and subtracting already. So now we're looking at multiplying and dividing. At the end of the lesson, we know that we're going to be able to demonstrate this because we're able to multiply and divide fluently. And given any problems, we can correctly find those quotients and products of those problems. So right here, you're going to go ahead and push play and watch this video. It's a fun little video talking about positive and negative numbers and the rules that we need to help us see if they're positive or negative when we're multiplying or dividing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a second to put pause on my video and then push play to this video on your Nearpod. All right, so let's go to the next slide in 3, 2, 1. On to the next slide. Here is another video that kind of more expressly talks about the rules that you need to get those. But this one is I believe, a flowcabulary. So they can do a little bit of rhythm and rhyming and rapping to help you get those ideas across. So this one's a little bit more straightforward than the last video. The other video was more fun and cute. This one is more straight to the rules, but using rhymes and raps, okay? So you can go ahead and push play on this video, watch this one, and then we'll go to the next slide. In 3, 2, 1. Next slide. All right, time to get out those notebooks so we can write down some notes, especially for multiplying and dividing. There's only a couple rules that we have to remember, so let's get out those notebooks. Get them out, get them out. I'm going to go ahead and open up my document camera. I have my notebook out already. Hey, there's my document camera. So we're working with new operations now. So we already did the adding and subtracting in our last page. So we're on a fresh new page for our notes. We are going to be multiplying and dividing. So these rules that we follow work for both multiplying and dividing. Okay. So the first rule is if they are the same sign, they're going to be positive. So if I'm multiplying two negatives, those two negatives make a positive. If I have a positive and a positive again, that means my answer is going to be positive. But if they are different signs, okay, if I have one number that's a negative and then I have another number that's a positive, then they're going to make a negative solution, okay? My quotient or my product will be negative if those signs are different. So let's go ahead and look at some examples. Another way that helps me remember this is, if we remember in that last video, that little girl had a triangle drawn on her little arms that she did apparently during class. That is the triangle. Some people call it the Nacho Man. So it's a triangle like this. So it's a triangle. He's got his two little flat eyes and a little plus face. All right. So if they are the same, so like when I have two negatives, I can cover them up and it's going to be a positive. If I have anything that's different, so like a negative and a positive, my answer is negative. If I have a negative or a positive again, my answer is negative. If I have just positives, well, it's like we normally do it. If I have just positive, my answer is positive. So that's not something I have to remember because we've been doing that since we started multiplying. All right, so let's look at an example. Okay, I don't want to show you the answers just yet. Gonna sneak up and show it. Hey, there we go. So we're multiplying like we normally see in our numbers. 10 times 20. So I'm multiplying 10 times 20. That's 10. If I do that 2 times, that's 20. And then I got to do it to a tens place, so that's going to be 200. And I got to think about, is my answer positive or negative? Since they're both positive, they're the same sign, my answer has to be positive. So it's a positive 200. Yeah. Let's see another example. Dun, dun. Oh, I got to make sure I cover the answer. Don't want to give you too much of a head start. Okay, so I have a -3 times a -4. These are two negative numbers. They're both negative, so they have the same sign. They're two negatives, and if there's two negatives, that means it's just gonna. If I have two negatives, I'm just left with a positive, so I know my answer is gonna be a positive number. So I'm just gonna do 3 times 4. That equals 12, and it's gonna be a positive 12. So positive 12. Yay! Let's go to the next problem. Okay. Oh, this one is a division problem. Because remember, these rules still follow for multiplying or dividing. So I have 10, and I'm dividing that by 2. So if I got 10, and I'm dividing it by 2, so 10, I split into 2 groups. That's going to be 2 groups of 5. Okay. So then let's look at this. I have a positive, and I'm dividing by a positive, so it's going to be a positive. So it's a positive 5. Yeah, there we go. Okay, one more example, I think. I might have... Oh, okay. So, those are my rules when they're all the same. Hey, look at that. So now let's draw a little line to separate. So those are all following rule number 1. So now the rule number 2, the second rule, is when they're different. So let's see what it looks like when we have different signs. I'll cover those answers, remember? No head starts for you guys. You guys are going to work them out. Ooh, 5 times 5. Oh, no, I'm wrong. It's 5 times negative 5. Those are a positive 5. That is a negative 5. So I have two different signs, a negative and a positive. So if they're a negative and a positive, I'm left with just a negative. So my answer is going to be a negative. We know that. Now I got to do my math. 5 times 5. Hey, I can do my counting by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Negative 25. Ba-boom. There you go. All right. Let's do another example. I think this is the last one. Hold on. Let me cheat and look. Nobody look. Nobody. Only me. No, only me. Only me. Yeah, there's only one left. There's only one left. Okay. Ooh, I almost slipped and gave you the answer. Negative 10 divided by 2. Hey, look, it's the same problem. But this time we have a negative 10. So I know if one is a negative and the other one's a positive, I'm left with just my negative. So my answer is going to be negative. And we said 10 divided by 2 was 5. So this is going to be 5, but it's going to be a negative 5. And look at that. It's a negative 5. Yay! All right. So those are our notes. If you need to take a pause and record this down on your notebooks, go ahead and write those down. I'll give you a couple seconds to go ahead and write those down. And then we'll switch over back to our Nearpod. All right. So let me go ahead and switch over to our Nearpod in 3, 2, 1. And we're back to our Nearpod. Here we go. So let's go to the next slide. We already wrote all these notes down. Now I want to know if you guys can work out a problem. So here is a problem for you. We have a positive 8 times a negative 7. What does it equal? So let's go ahead and look back at our notes. We're going to look at that triangle. So a positive 8 times a negative 7. Real quick, I'm going to take a peek at my notes. Okay, so I had a positive 8, a positive number, and then I had a negative 7, a negative number. So using this triangle, that's how I'm going to use it to figure out what my answer is going to be, whether it's positive or negative. So on your Nearpod, go ahead and select the answer you think it's going to be. You got to do the math. You got to use your notes. All right, and we'll go to the next slide in 3, 2, 1. Make sure to hit pause if you need some more time. Otherwise, we're moving on. All right, here's another check for understanding. This time we're going to be dividing. So we have 64 and we're dividing by a negative 4. Using that triangle, I'm not going to show you this time. You can do it on your own. You got the big brains to do it. So 64 divided by that negative 4. I use that triangle. See a positive number. I see a negative number. Work it out. Okay. If you need more time, go ahead and hit pause. And I'm going to move on in 3, 2, 1. On to the next slide. Slide. Here's a whole bunch of good examples of some math problems you should be able to work out. You're going to end up with some positive numbers. You're going to end up with some negative numbers. If you just want to practice looking at those and using your triangle to see whether your answers are going to be positive or negative, go for it. If you want to work out and get the solution and work even harder, feel free to do that. Use those big brains. You have all the knowledge to do it. All right, let's go to the next slide in 3, 2, 1. Ooh, so this one, we're just kind of seeing exactly the same problems you would see in word form. So it's just following along, making sure we're staying on pace with each other. So negative 5 times a negative 5 equals 25. So in word form, we have a negative 5 multiplied by a negative 5 is what blank? What goes in the blank? We just did the number problem on the top. All right, so you're going to go ahead and fill in those blanks. You're just reading the different ways you would see those kind of problems when it's in a number sentence and when it's in word form. The exact same thing. So go ahead and fill that in, and then you click done, and then we're on to the next slide. So go ahead and work on these in 3, 2, 1. Let's go on to the next slide. It's loading. It's the time to climb. All right, so you're working on these problems. You're answering them. There's quite a few questions. So you're working to get these answers correct. You're working to get them quickly. If you get them right, you go up the mountain faster. If you get them right and you do it quick, you go even faster up that mountain. Even if you're trying, you're still going to go up that mountain. but we're looking for get those right answers so we can get up there real quick and end up at the top of the mountain ahead of all our friends. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Now is your quiz. We want to see what you know, see if you're ready before you start the exit ticket, because these problems you see on this quiz are going to be pretty similar to those exit tickets. So make sure we know what we're doing before you start that exit ticket by focusing on this quiz. So there's 6 questions. The first one, 108 divided by -4. Okay, got a positive, got a negative, then you got to divide. Number 2, a negative times a negative results in a what? You decide, positive or negative. Number 3, -8 times a -9. Okay, think about it. This is a multiplication problem. Look at the signs on both those numbers. Pay attention to what it's going to be. Multiply them together. Okay, let's go to the next one. Number 4. If you guys need extra time, make sure you're hitting that pause button to give you extra time before we move on. But let's go ahead and move on in 3, 2, 1. Question number 4. A positive divided by a negative will result in a negative answer or a positive answer. You tell me by choosing A or B. Let's go to the next question in 3, 2, 1. Problem number 5. -54 divided by -6. You're dividing. I hope you didn't forget about your notes. Use that triangle. Use Mr. Nacho Man. He has all the information. All right. Make your choices. And let's go to the last question in our quiz in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Last question says 34 times a -9. And look at all these answer choices. I really want to know if you know how to do it. So you got to multiply, and then you got to figure out, is my answer going to be a positive or a negative? Just by looking at those signs. Just by using Mr. Nacho Man to help you figure it out. All right, let's move on in 3, 2, 1. And that is the end of our lesson for today. All right, so the last step now is you go to your Google Classroom, you look for lesson number 3, and you click on that exit ticket lesson number 3, and you are done for the day. And look at that, we did it really quick. You guys learned so much, and I know you're going to show me in that exit ticket. All right, so go ahead and end the Nearpod. Jump onto that exit ticket and get me those good grades. What? And I'll see ya in the next one. And in the classroom. Bye, guys.